it's very satisfying to see your song online and then read the comments of fans and they're like, oh, I really love this song. You're like, I wrote that. Like, as a songwriter, it's definitely changed in certain ways because of the COVID situation. It's been weird because I used to travel a lot, especially to Korea, obviously, because I write K-pop. Plans to Japan were in the works. Yeah, it all got put on hold. It's quite difficult now because you have to apply for a visa and you can't just go as a tourist and just, hit people up and do a session here and there. On the other hand, I'm quite fortunate to be able to work in this space and have everything that I need here and just work online. So that's good. I'm fortunate, but it could be better. I definitely would have traveled to Korea. That was definitely the plan. And I don't know, just I guess that's maybe the main thing that's different. Other than that, just make a lot of music, which I am doing right now. Yeah, I mean that's the bulk of my work anyway. Just work online and just do online collaborations. So a producer sends me a track and I'm a topliner, so I write the melodies and lyrics and record to the track that I get sent and then send it back. They mix it and then it gets pitched. So I don't really need to see a lot of people, which can also be a good thing or a bad thing considering how you look at it. Well, I probably wrote my first song before I was 10 years old. So I've definitely been making music for my whole life. Didn't know it was going to be in this specific setting, this specific way, because it took me a while to realize that, hey, I like music, but I also want to turn this into my main profession. So I applied for music college when I was in my early 20s. So quite late, I guess, but that's when I really started rapidly developing my music skills. First, I was just producing, I was composing, then I was found out that I really wanted to do pop music, and then when I searched YouTube, I was like, hey, let's see what Asia has to offer based on whatever knowledge of anime and video games I had. I felt like, hey, I want to find some inspiration from J-pop or Japanese music. And then K-pop was the bubble hadn't burst the way it has right now. It was quite niche, and I remember at the time on music college, to my classmates, I really had to explain to them what it was, and these were musicians, and they didn't even know what it was. And now my mom hits me up with, hey, I saw BTS did a thing. So it's a different world in that sense. But I'm glad that I rode that wave early on. So I feel like I'm at least more informed than your average person. Obviously, K-pop is pop music, so it has to be mainstream in a way. But because I'm not an artist myself, so I don't have to put myself in any box like that. My sound is whatever the artist needs, pretty much. Everyone's writing style is definitely different. Yeah, it's hard to explain exactly what the difference between two K-pop writers would be. It's just that when I hear a song that's been released and I know the writer, I can definitely make out yeah, this is totally a melody that they would write. But if I were to explain to you what trademarks of my melodies are, I don't know. It's hard to define your own melodies, especially because you're always looking for different melodies. You're always looking for new tricks, whatever, yeah, and new trends as well. So, hey, this type of melody sounds old-fashioned. Let's change it to be more, I don't know, Post Malone, whatever is happening at that certain time and whatever labels are looking for at the time. So I did take some Korean language classes for quite a while actually, but I mean, getting fluent in any language takes so much time and so much practice. So I feel like I've got half a language. Obviously, enough to like order food in a restaurant, but not enough to write a song. Everything is written in English, and actually a lot of labels prefer it that way. It makes it sound more like an American pop song, which is oftentimes something of an influence they're looking for, but also it leaves room for the translation. The translation process happens in Korea. They have a Korean translator or a Japanese or a Chinese, depending on where it's released. And it's not really a one-on-one translation. They might keep certain English parts that sound nice, or they try and keep the intention of the song, but the meaning is totally different. It's been that way for a long time, and some of it is left over from the English demos, some of it is not and is added in by the translator. I think that is also part of the reason why it blew up. It makes it more accessible to an international audience as well, because you know those little bits and pieces of English, and so even though you have no idea what the song is about, you can still sing those bits and pieces. I think that helped for the international audience. The way we usually work as K-pop writers, and I'm guessing most other industries as well, is we get sent leads or briefs from the labels. So they have a group or an artist that are looking to have a comeback album for. They're looking for specific songs for that album, and they send out leads to their contacts, their companies. So it goes to publishers or writers that they know, and then you go and try and interpret that lead and have a feel for what you think that artist might like or that label might like for that artist. I mean, I just want to be able to make a good living, but also it's very satisfying to see your song online and then read the comments of fans, and they're like, oh, I really love this song. You're like, I wrote that. That's something that's weird, but cool. They don't really play K-pop in the Netherlands unless it's BTS. Or the songs get played in Japan, or they get played in concerts. I just get inspired by a lot of different things, I guess. There's a lot of different music on my playlists that I listen to. A lot of it's K-pop, a lot of it is not. Come a K-pop topliner, in my case, or producer, also kind of in my case, you just need to be good at what you do and consistently put out good demos. I would say it helps if you have like a background in music, like education. It helps a lot, I would say, but it's by no means necessary or like mandatory, obviously, because there's nobody in this business that's gonna check if you have the degree or not. You need to put out a good song every single time. But in my case, it's and in most other people's cases, it's a process of multiple years of refining your craft and writing. Obviously, before I started writing K-pop songs, I was already writing just pop songs. But I guess I started writing my first actual K-pop song like 3 years ago. The first year has just been writing new songs, and eventually one of them got picked up. I mean, the obvious starting point would be to have a good song first. You need to have a good song first. In my case, one of my teachers back in college also has a publishing company, and he showed me some leads for, at the time, BTS and EXO. He showed me a demo of an EXO song, like the original song. I was blown away because it felt like a peek behind the curtain, you know? I was one of those fans who was just watching the news and watching YouTube videos, and I got like an insider's peek inside. I was like, this is crazy. This is a thing that happens. I didn't know there were so many foreign writers writing English songs that get pitched to K-pop labels. Along the way, I've definitely gotten to know more and more people at labels or other producers or other publishing companies, other writers. So you start to build your own network. But what I've found is hard for a lot of people is getting that first cut. It takes a while to break through. I do like 2 or 3 a week. So on a monthly basis, that's times 4. Most of that never gets released. That's the problem with our job, is that we write a lot of songs. They all get pitched, but they don't all get picked. There's just too much music in the world for not enough artists, I guess. So the demand for cuts is a lot bigger than the demand for songs. So the labels have a very privileged position of picking exactly the right songs that they want to have on that album. So you write a song for a specific artist, but that doesn't mean it gets released for that artist. It might mean that it gets released for a different artist later. Also, it means that the song just never sees the light of day, and that's a very sad reality of every writer. There is definitely a big difference between J-pop and K-pop. Sometimes there is not. In general, there's definitely differences in production and in melody. As a writer, often you make a K-pop song and sometimes it turns out at the end of the finish line, basically you have a finished song and then you're like, you know what, it doesn't really feel like a K-pop song. Maybe we should aim this for the Japanese audience instead. What I feel for Japanese music is they tend to stick a little bit more closely to their own thing, their own types of melodies, types of production choices, the way that a song is structured. And for K-pop, they are more laser focused on current trends and the American charts. They follow trends more closely pretty much. And I would say Japan often trends in sound hit a bit later in Japan. They just have different taste, Japanese audience. Twice, which is like one of the biggest girl groups in all of Asia, and I think it's the biggest girl group, definitely the biggest K-pop girl group in Japan. So it was huge. When that song released, I was in Korea at the time, so I got to experience a little bit more of the impact of that song that was definitely special. I also had a release with NCT, which was great because I really like them as a group and I really look at them, what's a cool sound as well. I just definitely love their sound, so for them to pick my songs, great. The more cuts you get, the more famous you become as a writer within the industry, the more likely you're gonna be asked to participate, but that doesn't mean you get the cut automatically. I think as a writer, you want to build a big catalog of different types of songs so that whenever an opportunity comes, you have something that is close to what they're looking for, as to increase your chances of getting the songs cut. I think I really like that in Japan and K-pop, the writers do get credited a lot. Right now, I don't write anything other than Asian pop music. Yeah, I might in the future if opportunities present themselves, but I do feel like I am specialized in this particular genre, so